Hey, I'm Kevin. I like to talk about queer stuff and Jesus, and today I'm going to be going over my top 5 favorite books on sexuality and Christian faith. So first on my list is like the classic, the OG, the original, The God and the Gay Christian. Not really the original, but just like the first one that really started to make sense for me as far as like talking about Christian faith and sexuality. What I like about this book is coming from an evangelical background, I really needed some grounding as far as just like, how do I interpret this through the same lens that I'm still working with? For a lot of people, the Bible is central to our interpretation and our lived experience and our faith. And so this book does a really, really fantastic job of grounding people in a hermeneutic that they could be like very familiar with, as well as introducing them into new things that can lead to bigger and better, expansive, more inclusive faith. So if you are a queer person starting out, you need to understand the Bible and gay stuff. Like, this is where you start. God and the Gay Christian by Matthew Vines. Fantastic book. Second book on my list is actually the first one I read, and it's Torn by Justin Lee, the founder of the Gay Christian Network, now the Q Christian Fellowship. This book is super narrative driven. It talks about Justin's experience going through ex-gay ministries like Exodus International, much like many of us did, some logical conclusions that he drew on his own, and kind of just like, how he was able to like, hold both of these things in tension. Super accessible, it's narrative driven, so if you're somebody or somebody who needs to come in through like a more narrative perspective on all this stuff, Torn is a really great one to start with. If you're somebody who's coming from a perspective of needing a lot of academic and theological backing, I would go with Bible, Gender, Sexuality by Dr. Jim V. Brownson. This book really does read like a freaking textbook in many ways. It's very, very theologically dense, and sometimes it's like a little hard to grasp if you don't have like the academia language. But for folks who really love digging into theology, Bible, Gender, Sexuality lays out a fantastic framework. I think of it like the grad school, like, the higher education version of God and the Gay Christian, and kind of, and I know that Matthew like drew on a lot of Jim Brownson's discussions in here to help make God and the Gay Christian a reality. So this is a really fantastic resource for anyone who's looking to be a little bit more theological in their perspective from like an academic perspective. If you're looking to get a whole breadth of knowledge about the history and the uses of like translations in the Bible and how we ended up at where we are today from a social, historical, and religious perspective, Walking the Bridgeless Canyon by Kathy V. Baldock. This book in many ways is thick, it's dense, it's kind of like a textbook in some ways, but it's fascinating. As far as research is concerned about like how we arrived where we are, it's one of the most well-researched books out there. Kathy's also a good friend of mine. She is just like this database of knowledge, and she put it all in this fantastic resource that you can pick up pretty much anywhere, get it online. And then last on my list, and this is my recommendation if you are handing a book to a non-affirming parent or maybe a non-affirming pastor, Unclobber by Colby Martin. I will say this book is not super groundbreaking in a lot of the actual content in there. However, Colby, a straight, cis, heterosexual man, really kind of weaves together his own story into this about how he came out as affirming, lost his job. But he also talks about, in his own perspective, how he moved from a non-affirming perspective to an affirming perspective. And for folks who are more conservative and will only listen to straight people, this is the book for that. So it's a really fantastic resource if they don't want to read a book by a gay Christian because they're gonna have like a bias, right? So this book, send it to your non-affirming pastor. I think it would really, really help. Maybe he'd throw it out. I don't know what he'd do. But this is the book if you need one for someone who won't listen to gay people. This is by a straight person, so that would be good. Just a couple of honorable mentions and like extra plugs. Outside the Lines, Mihi Kim Court. She talks a lot about being in a straight relationship and how embracing her queerness really allowed her to see the bigness of God. It was a really, it's a delightful book. I would really suggest that one. The other one, it's not even out yet, but it's coming out soon. It's called Unashamed, a coming out guide for LGBTQ Christians by my friend Amber Cantorna. This is geared toward LGBTQ Christians who are working through their coming out process. It addresses a lot of things like, how do I talk to my family? How do I, get over internalized homophobia? How do I start building new community for myself? This is a really fantastic resource. It's coming out in the next few months, so be sure to pick it up. In the description below, I'll have links to all of these books so you can pick them up, and you can also check out my resource page on my blog, which is thekevingarcia.com. /resources. A bunch of my favorite books are up there. And not just books about queer stuff and Jesus, but you know, books about evolving faith, books about figuring out how to like live in the world and be a millennial, all that good shit. But it's all gonna be available at thekevingarcia.com. And if you like this video, go ahead and like and share and subscribe in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite books are about queer Christianity. I'd love to like start a discussion around that. And if you think this work is important, if you think videos like this are important, please consider becoming a supporting partner through Patreon. Even as much as a little $1 or $2 a month makes a huge difference in the amount of content we can create. I'm done talking now. I'm gonna go shoot another video so I can get to editing. I love you so much, and we'll talk soon, baby. Bye.